On behalf of the President, my immediate boss, the Minister for Information, the entire Ministry of Information, we welcome you to one of our Meet the Press series here at the Ministry of Information. For the purposes of Delta, those who may be watching us for the very first time, Meet the Press is one of the programs organized under the auspices of the Ministry of Information, where our state actors for various sectors come up and present to us on their key achievements and their stories so far. Today we are privileged to have with us the Sector Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, together with her two deputies. She would be presenting to us on these topics. One, support for ECOWAS under global and regional diplomacy. Two, commitment to the AU agenda. Three, security collaboration. Four, strengthening bilateral and multilateral relations. Five, economic diplomacy, high-level visits. Six, diaspora engagement, promoting welfare of Ghanaian citizens, both home and abroad, passport service delivery, and finally, migration.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as you may be aware, one of the critical mandates of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration is to promote and protect the interest of our beloved country, Ghana, in order to enhance the well-being of our nationals. This entails complex and multifaceted operations both at home and abroad in a rapidly changing global environment which is full of challenges but with opportunities as well. Consequently, our responsibilities under the ministry's mandate require us to engage the media continuously as a way of reaching out to the general public to whom we are ultimately accountable and whose support and cooperation remain vital to our ability to deliver. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, today presents us with yet another opportunity to share our experience and deliberate on matters of interest to all of us. We will agree that on the global stage, Ghana's image has soared and evidenced by His Excellency the President's stature on the global scene. We are leveraging these opportunities for partnerships for the growth of our country. I consider it a great honor, therefore, to brief you and the good people of Ghana about my ministry's accomplishments since I was appointed as the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration by His Excellency, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, in January 2017. In broad terms, my presentation will cover some key areas that the Deputy Minister has already taken you through. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are all aware, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration is the organ of government with a primary responsibility for the management of Ghana's external engagements with the rest of the world, including its dealings with international organizations. I am delighted to inform you that during the period under review, Ghana's image has been bolstered within the international community. Global and regional diplomacy. Since independence, Ghana has been held in high esteem in the Committee of Nations, thanks to the consistent demonstration of leadership in global affairs, especially in matters affecting West Africa and the African continent. Support for ECOWAS and African Union. Consistent with Ghana's foreign policy on good neighborliness and commitment to the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, the ministry facilitated and coordinated several activities during the period under review. On assumption of office as the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo embarked on tours to several countries within the ECOWAS region, including, among others, Guinea, Burkina Faso, Niger, Togo, Gambia, Côte d'Ivoire, Mali, Nigeria, Liberia, Cape Verde, and Senegal. These visits culminated in some instances decisions on the establishment of permanent joint commissions for cooperation, PJCC, with some of the countries. They also afforded the President the opportunity to develop personal relationships with his counterparts and also to deepen bilateral relations. For instance, in Côte d'Ivoire, as two leading cocoa producing countries in the world, the two presidents discussed and eventually signed the Strategic Partnership Agreement, which led to the signing of the Abidjan Declaration on the Production and Marketing of Cocoa. The two countries, as you are aware, produce over 60% of the world's cocoa, yet our farmers receive less than 6% of the 100 billion global market share of the product. Hence, under the Abidjan Declaration, the two countries have agreed to coordinate a standard price that should give them more control over the market value and their earnings from the sales of the crop. As Africa remains the central pillar of Ghana's foreign policy, the ministry continued to take measures to fulfill her commitment to the agenda of the African Union. It accordingly facilitated the participation of Ghana in various continental fora, including ordinary sessions of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the African Union. His Excellency, the President, actively participated in all the ordinary sessions of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the African Union, where issues of vital importance to the African people were discussed. For instance, the 32nd Ordinary Session discussed, among other things, implementation of the Assembly's decision on institutional reform of the African Union and its organs, implementation of the Assembly decision on the post-Cotonou negotiations, activities of the Peace and Security Council and the state of peace and security in Africa, and the status of negotiations on the establishment of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Ladies and gentlemen, Ghana played a central role in the negotiations leading to the signing of the Continental Free Trade Agreement at the African Union Summit, which was held in Kigali in March 2018. The decision was announced at the 12th AU Extraordinary Summit held in Niamey, Niger on 7th July 2019. And this decision was for Ghana to host the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Ghana competed against Ethiopia, Kenya, Senegal, Eswatini, Egypt, and Madagascar. The core mandate of the Secretariat will be to implement the trade agreements with the goal of creating a single market, followed by the free movement of people and a single currency union. Throughout the period under review, the ministry, in close collaboration with stakeholder ministries, departments, and agencies, continued to give substance to Ghana's negotiating position at regional and continental conferences and facilitated their participation to ensure that Ghana's views on vital issues were well articulated at such conferences. The AU-EU summit in Abidjan, where leaders called for close collaboration and cooperation between Europe and Africa in tackling the root causes of illegal migration, which is to save lives and dismantle the criminal organizations of human traffickers. 31st Ordinary Session of the AU Summit in Nouakchott, where Ghana was appointed as the representative for West Africa on the African Union Board of External Auditors during the session. Also, the ministry facilitated the election of Ghana to the African Committee of Nuclear Energy in June 2018. The launch of the Lagos-Abidjan Corridor Highway in Cotonou, Benin, in 2018 by the ECOWAS Commission in collaboration with 5 ECOWAS ministers of roads, Ghana, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, and Togo, and it aimed at linking some of the largest and economically most dynamic cities to serve a population catchment area of tens of millions of people. Strengthening bilateral and multilateral relations. The ministry continued to facilitate official as well as state visits. These and many other activities are consistent with efforts to substantially deepen Ghana's international diplomatic footprint and strengthen bilateral relations with other countries in pursuit of our national interest. The President was the first to be hosted by South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, following his swearing in as President of the Republic of South Africa. This was an affirmation of the continued cordial relations that exist between our two countries. During the visit, the two heads of state agreed to upgrade the existing PJCC between our two countries to a binational commission to be held under their leadership. A joint statement of intent was signed regarding technical cooperation in the field of strategic railway infrastructure development. Another significant outcome of the visit is the ongoing discussions for a 90-day visa exemption for ordinary passport holders on reciprocal basis. Ghana's bilateral relations with countries in the Middle East region also witnessed significant improvement, particularly in the areas of education, trade and investment, employment, tourism, and infrastructural development. The renewed interest for deeper cooperation was as a result of a series of official visits and the conclusion of important agreements to redefine these relations for the mutual benefits of Ghanaians and the people of those countries. The President's state visit to Qatar led to the opening of Ghana's embassy in Doha. We have also opened embassies in Kuwait City and Abu Dhabi, and this is a demonstration of the deepening relations between Ghana and countries in that region. The United Arab Emirates and the State of Qatar reciprocated by establishing their embassies in Accra. Malta and Suriname were also two countries that opened their missions in Accra. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you may be aware of media reports regarding the inhuman treatment of some Ghanaian migrant workers in the Gulf region. The ministry, in keeping with its mandate to protect the interest and welfare of Ghanaians abroad, is working with relevant stakeholders to establish the legal framework to regulate the recruitment and protection of Ghanaian migrant workers in the Gulf region to ensure that their fundamental human rights and dignity are respected. Negotiations are currently ongoing with the United Arab Emirates, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and the State of Kuwait, and other countries in the region. The agreements under consideration include regulation of labor migration and model employment contracts between a Kuwait employer and a Ghanaian labor migrant, and agreements on domestic workers recruitment between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Ghana. Notes have been exchanged on a draft agreement on the regulation of migrant workers in the United Arab Emirates. Ghana also continues to improve and strengthen its relations with Asia. My visit to India in July 2018 focused on strengthening technical and economic cooperation. Some of the agreements reached during the visit were a $30 million facility from Exim Bank of India to finance the rehabilitation and upgrading of potable water system in Yendi, a $150 million facility to finance and strengthen the agriculture mechanization services in Ghana, amongst others. During the period under consideration, Ghana and China achieved new milestones in their bilateral relations. In 2018, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, paid a state visit to China, during which he participated in the Shandong Ghana Business Conference in Jinan and the Forum on China-African Cooperation, FOCAC. The President's visit followed an official visit by the Vice President, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, in 2017. Some of the benefits of our bilateral relations with China are as follows: Sino Hydro projects, participation of Chinese companies in 1D1F, Sinotrack assembly plant, Tamale interchange. Ghana has also opened a consulate in Guangzhou, China, to enhance the promotion of trade and investment between the two countries and to also address the consular-related needs of Ghanaians. The existing friendly relations and cooperation between Ghana and Japan received a further boost and led to the exchange of notes and signing of the project for improvement of equipment for the production of television program for Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, GBC. The grant agreement enabled GBC to access an amount of $600,000 under the Project for Human Resource Development Scholarship, JDS. 10 young public officials would be selected this year to pursue courses at master degree level in Japanese universities. Similarly, under the grant agreement for the Economic and Social Development Project, an amount of $2.73 million will, among other things, provide the Ghana Police Service with communication gadgets and vehicles. There are other projects such as the motorway expansion project. Relations with Cuba was also given a boost. A state visit by President Nana Akufo-Addo from the 3rd to 6th April 2019 highlighted the cordial relations between Ghana and Cuba and the celebration of the 60th anniversary of the formal establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries. Discussions focused on technical assistance and consultancy for the construction of a bio-larvicide factory in Savelugu in the northern region of Ghana to fight against malaria. As you are well aware, since the mid-1980s, the Cuban government has trained over 3,000 Ghanaians in various fields of study. I am happy to report that this past July, 220 Ghanaian medical students successfully graduated from Cuba and are due to return home this month to serve Mother Ghana. An additional 200 medical students, including 170 undergrads and 30 specialists, are also being sponsored by government to study in Cuba. Whilst in Havana, His Excellency the President also visited the Stella SA Company, which specializes in chocolate production to meet domestic needs and for exports, to explore the possibility of establishing a joint venture between Ghana and Cuba in the cocoa industry. The Ghana Investment Promotion Center and Stella SA Company are expected to begin discussions on the opportunities in the cocoa chocolate industry. The President also visited a biopharmaceutical and chemical productions group called Labiofarm. We also continue to deepen bilateral relations with countries in the Caribbean region. His Excellency the President visited Guyana, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Trinidad and Tobago, and of course Jamaica in June 2019. He took the opportunity to encourage persons of African descent to undertake a pilgrimage to Ghana and also participate in the activities planned for the year of return, which marks 400 years of the arrival of the first enslaved Africans to the Americas in 1619. The outcome of the Caribbean visits included a request by Barbados for the supply of over 375 Ghanaian nurses to make up the shortage of nurses in the hospitals and healthcare centers in Barbados, as well as the signing of air services agreements with Guyana and St. Vincent and Grenadines and Barbados. Ladies and gentlemen, as you are aware, Ghana is home to 75% of the slave dungeons built along the West African coast and is therefore a major historical and cultural destination for the African diaspora. Furthermore, the opening of resident embassies of the Pacific Alliance in Ghana, Colombia, Chile, Mexico, and Peru have opened embassies over the last few years, and this is ample testimony of the confidence that member states of the alliance have in the Ghanaian economy and their desire to deepen engagement with ECOWAS, using Ghana as the gateway. Two members of the Pacific Alliance, that's Chile and Peru, have applied for observer status in ECOWAS. In early 2018, Cabinet approved a memorandum on the proposal for Ghana to join the Pacific Alliance as an observer. The proposal, which has been forwarded to Parliament for ratification, will present Ghana the opportunity to explore the huge potentials of the Pacific Alliance for our mutual benefits. Opening of new missions. During the period under review, Ghana opened additional embassies in Oslo, Norway, Kuwait City, Kuwait, Doha, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, UAE, and 4 consulates general in Port Louis, Mauritius, Niamey, Niger, Tripoli, Libya, and Guangzhou, China. And this is to promote and strengthen political and economic relations, as well as provide quality consular services to our compatriots in those countries. As part of strengthening our engagements with other countries, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, appointed ambassadors and high commissioners to represent Ghana as mandated under Article 74 of Ghana's Constitution. These envoys are the President's representatives in their respective countries of accreditation to promote the interests of Ghana and its development agenda, including the President's Ghana Beyond Aid vision. High-level visits. The number of high-level official visits exchanged in 2017, 2018, and 2019 between Ghana and a considerable number of countries boosted our international standing. Notable among the visits were those of Their Excellencies, the Presidents of the Gambia, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, France, Germany, Guinea, Liberia, and Burkina Faso. Others were Their Majesties, the King of Morocco, the Emir of Qatar, and the Queens of Denmark and Belgium, as well as Their Royal Highnesses, the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall. Ghana was equally honored by the visits of Their Excellencies, the Prime Ministers of Malta, Italy, Holland, and Norway, the Federal Chancellor of Germany, the Vice President of Suriname, the Deputy Prime Minister of Serbia, and the First Lady of the United States of America, and recently the Speaker of the U.S. Congress, Nancy Pelosi, and her delegation. Through the exchange of these visits, a number of MOUs were signed to establish businesses and other investments in the country. This is expected to lead to the creation of jobs and improved infrastructure, among others. The high-level visits also created opportunities for sharing views on vital issues of national, regional, and global interest, but also built goodwill and solidarity among the Committee of Nations to support our national agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, on multilateral issues, Ghana engages actively as a member of several international organizations, including the United Nations. I've already talked about the African Union and ECOWAS, the Commonwealth, La Francophonie, South-South Cooperation, and the Non-Aligned Movement. The country has advanced steadily in its contributions to decision-making at the global level by articulating views that affect her interests, as well as those of the sub-region and the African continent. To further enhance Ghana's international image and influence, the ministry, through its missions abroad, facilitated the elections of the following Ghanaians to positions in various international organizations. Ambassador Kwesi Quartey, Vice Chair of the African Union Commission. Mr. Daniel Batida, member of the Advisory Board on Corruption. He subsequently resigned in 2018. Madam Kathleen Quartey Ayensu, member of the Commission on International Law. And in 2018, we facilitated the appointment of Dr. Kofi Konedu Apreku, Commissioner for Macroeconomic Policy and Economic Research at ECOWAS, Dr. Alfred Breimer, Auditor General for ECOWAS, Madam Hannah Sewa Tete, Special Representative to the African Union and Head of United Nations Office to the African Union, Mrs. Gertrude Oforewa Fefome, Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disability, the Honorable Justice Edward Amwaku Asante, President of ECOWAS Court. And in 2019, Ambassador Kwabena Osei Dankwa, Chef de Cabinet to the Office of the President of the 73rd United Nations General Assembly, Mrs. Kalila Hackman, Advisor on Peace Building and the First Committee on Disarmament and International Peace at the Office of the President of the 73rd Session of the UNGA. The ministry was also instrumental in the re-election of Ghana to the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations, ECOSOC, for the period 2018 to 2020. Ghana chaired the UN AIDS Program Coordinating Board, which acts as the governing body on all programmatic issues concerning policy, strategy, finance, monitoring, and evaluation. This position reinforced the recognition by Ghana in the fight against HIV/AIDS. Ghana's multilateral engagements were strengthened at the following multilateral fora, among others: the 72nd session of the UNGA in September 2017. As part of activities during the General Assembly, His Excellency the President joined other world leaders in the Circle of Leadership initiative by the Secretary General of the United Nations to work towards curbing sexual exploitation in conflict situations. The United Nations Ocean Conference, which adopted the declaration entitled Our Ocean, Our Future, Call for Action, as the outcome document. The conference aimed at identifying ways to support the implementation of SDG 14 on conservation and sustainable use of the ocean, sea, and marine resources. The Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in London in April 2018 under the theme Towards a Common Future. In his message to the conference, Excellency the President stressed the importance of implementing the Sustainable Development Goals and tackling the developmental challenges of member states. He joined his colleague heads of state and government in their commitment to fight against protectionism by ensuring a transparent, inclusive, fair, and rules-based multilateral trading system by expanding and boosting intra-Commonwealth trade to $2 trillion by 2030. In June 2018, the International Trade Center launched the Ghana chapter of the She's Trades in the Commonwealth. The project aims at improving the competitiveness of women entrepreneurs in international trade. It will strengthen the capacities of 3,000 women-owned businesses to generate sales worth $38 million by 2020. Aphrodisiac, a Ghanaian company which attended Koteri, one of the United States' top fashion trade shows, has since expanded its business by 50% as a result of access to new buyers through trade shows and exhibitions. Ghana participated in the 73rd session of the UNGA, which was held in New York from 24th of September to 1st of October 2018 on the theme Making the United Nations Relevant to All People. Global leadership and shared responsibilities for peaceful, equitable, and sustainable societies. Our president used the opportunity to reiterate the call for a reform of the UN Security Council to reflect current global realities and highlighted the poverty and some challenges facing Africa. Ghana's participation in the 17th Summit of La Francophonie in Yerevan, Armenia, in October 2018. It would be recalled that Ghana signed the Linguistic Pact with the La Francophonie in May 2018 with the aim of promoting teaching and learning of French language in schools and public service in Ghana, and establish model bilingual schools at the primary level within the shortest possible time with technical assistance from La Francophonie. The government has since appointed a French-speaking focal person in the person of Dr. Stephen Syme, a senior presidential staffer and French scholar, to collaborate with the Ghana mission in Paris to coordinate La Francophonie activities in Ghana. Ghana's participation in the second high-level United Nations Conference on the South-South Cooperation, which was dubbed BAPA Plus 40 in Buenos Aires, Argentina, in March 2019. A Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration led Ghana's delegation to the conference. He called for South-South and triangular cooperation, including knowledge sharing and best practices to address the challenges facing the countries of the South. He also took the opportunity to hold bilateral meetings with his counterparts from Norway, Argentina, and Vietnam, during which the government of Norway offered to support Ghana in the maritime and renewable energy sectors. The government of Argentina also agreed to support Ghana in building the capacity of small-scale farmers to increase productivity. Ghana's participation in the R20 World Summit in Vienna, a climate change initiative to help countries implement the SDGs and meet the global climate change targets outlined in the Paris Agreement in May 2019. Our delegation was led by His Excellency the President, who highlighted Ghana's commitment to the Paris Agreement and indicated that climate change had been mainstreamed into the national development agenda. Mr. President also stated that lessons about the impact of climate change and the need for sustainable development had recently been included in the curricula of schools in Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, in recognition of Ghana's commitment to the ideals of the UN, His Excellency, the President, was reappointed as the co-chair of the eminent group of advocates for the Sustainable Development Goals in May 2019. Again, in recognition of Ghana's leading role in UN peacekeeping operations, the country was selected as a member of the contact group of the ELSI Initiative for Women in Peace Operations, which was launched by Canada in 2017. The initiative is an innovative multilateral project to help overcome barriers to women's participation in peacekeeping operations. Canada has since established bilateral technical assistance and training partnerships with the Ghana Armed Forces and the Canadian Police Force. Ghana is undergoing an assessment to benefit from the ELSI Initiative Fund for Uniformed Women in Peace Operations. The fund is meant to allow troop-contributing countries to access flexible funding to support the deployment of trained and qualified women to UN peacekeeping operations, with a focus on increasing the representation of women in positions of authority. In May 2019, the government of Ghana hosted the President of the 73rd United Nations General Assembly, Her Excellency Maria Fernanda Espinosa Garcés, as part of a three-nation tour to bring the UN closer to the people and to strengthen multilateralism. She called on His Excellency the President, who took the opportunity to affirm Ghana's commitment to the principles of multilateralism and highlighted Ghana's active participation in the UN peacekeeping operations since 1960s as an indication of the value the country attached to its membership of the organization. On economic diplomacy, foreign policy, like domestic policy, seeks to advance national goals, and every Ghanaian will agree with me that improvement in the economy is of vital national interest. Economic diplomacy supports the national objective of diversifying and increasing Ghana's export base by actively seeking markets for Ghanaian products abroad and taking advantage of preferential agreements and arrangements and multilateral trade agreements. Economic diplomacy also supports the diversification and expansion of the tourism industry for job creation and revenue generation by marketing Ghana abroad as a competitive tourist destination and attracting investment into the hospitality industry. The government under President Akufo-Addo prioritizes the development of economic opportunities in Ghana's foreign policy by opening up markets for Ghanaian exports and attracting foreign direct investments into the country. Economic diplomacy has thus become a central focus in the implementation of Ghana's foreign policy to take advantage of the country's huge economic and trade potentials. To give meaning to this policy direction, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration has re-established the Economic Trade and Investment Bureau, ECTIB, in June 2017. And this is to bring focus to the ministry's economic activities and its collaboration with other institutions. Since its re-establishment, the Bureau has coordinated Ghana's economic, trade, tourism, and investment activities with Ghana's missions abroad and various ministries, departments, and agencies. Ladies and gentlemen, we practice economic diplomacy at home too. And in 2018, we organized at the ministry a Made-in Bazaar of Made-in-Ghana goods and services. The exhibition brought together over 50 indigenous entrepreneurs to display their wares and products. The diplomatic corps as well as the general public were invited to the two-day event at the premises of the ministry. The successful Made-in Bazaar encouraged the ministry to organize the just-ended second Made-in-Ghana Bazaar, which was highly patronized by over 200 exhibitors and also by the public. Among the activities and programs organized by the ministry in collaboration with partner MDAs to aggressively promote Made-in-Ghana goods and services, as well as attract the needed FDIs for Ghana's industrialization agenda, were: 1, the facilitation of the private sector in the Offshore Technology Conference in Texas in May 2019. The Economic and Trade Investment Bureau is currently assisting private sector operatives to actualize the contacts that they made at the conference. Facilitation of the participation of the private sector in the UAE annual investment meeting in Dubai in April 2019. Business contacts have been established towards joint ventures. The fact-finding mission to Ghana by Thai officials who paid working visits to our agencies, GIPC, GFZA, GPHA, MOTI, AGI, in April 2019. The delegation showed keen interest in investing in our flagship programs such as One District, One Factory. The second stakeholders conference in collaboration with UN Economic Commission of Africa on leveraging economic diplomacy for Ghana's industrialization agenda was held from 28th to 30th November 2018. 5. Hosting of a business delegation from Slovenia led by the State Secretary of Foreign Affairs in November 2018. The delegation showed interest in investing in areas such as ICT, defense, communication and security, printing, as well as in government's flagship programs such as the 1D1F. And then, last but not the least, organization of intersectoral preparatory meetings, which was the result of the official visit of President Akufo-Addo to Malta in June 2019. The outcome of the meetings included Malta becoming an EU gateway logistics hub for Made-in-Ghana products and the recruitment of regularized labor from Ghana for the Maltese market. In the area of tourism, the ministry continued to intensify promotion of the tourism industry in collaboration with its missions abroad to present Ghana as the best destination of choice for tourists. I am pleased, ladies and gentlemen, to inform you that through the efforts of our mission in Copenhagen, the Queen of Denmark, in her recent visit to Ghana, was accompanied by a large retinue of business executives, out of which 5 companies have signed MOUs with a few at different stages of setting up in Ghana. Ghana's mission in New Delhi also led a 16-member Indian business delegation to Ghana in May 2018 to explore the possibility of setting up a 200 metric tons oil palm refinery, a cocoa processing plant, and a gold refinery. Trade, investment, and economic opportunities in Ghana were on display across all our missions as we commemorated Ghana's 60th, 61st, and 62nd independence anniversaries, which has attracted investors to Ghana. Furthermore, the ministry's participation in and facilitation of the underlisted economic fora, both home and abroad, formed part of its efforts to mobilize private sector investments to support the President's agenda of stimulating economic growth and creating jobs for the youth in Ghana. Participation of the Moroccan Agency for Investment and Export Development for the first time in the 22nd Ghana Trade Fair, which was organized in Accra in February 2018. Ghanaian MDAs were also invited to participate in fairs organized by the Moroccan authorities and seized the opportunity to display made in Ghana goods. Ministry also, through our mission in Abu Dhabi, in collaboration with the GIPC and the Ministry of Economy of the UAE, facilitated the visit to Ghana by a 30-member UAE delegation consisting of business and government officials led by the Undersecretary, who is the Deputy Minister at the Ministry of Economy of the UAE. Similar activities were facilitated or undertaken by our missions in Seoul, Cairo, Havana, Dubai, among others. Under PJCCs and political consultations, the PJCCs and political consultations are the established frameworks for furthering our bilateral relations with other states. The ministry, through our missions, also successfully facilitated the organization of PJCCs and political consultations with various countries. During these meetings, detailed discussions are held between the parties on a wide range of sectors, including trade and investment, agriculture and agro-processing, health, education, science and technology, ICT, environment, and peace and security. Agreements are usually signed at the end of these sessions, which lead to tangible outcomes such as the establishment of industries and the consequent creation of jobs, technology transfer, and know-how, and also the learning of best practices. During the period under review, the ministry engaged in the following PJCCs. The fourth session of the Ghana-Togo Permanent Joint Commission for Cooperation. It was held in Accra. An MOU was signed on security cooperation and a bilateral agreement on the operating procedure manual and management of the joint border post at Akanu Nuipe, which is now operational. The seventh session of the Ghana-Nigeria PJCC also saw both sides pledging their renewed commitments to enhancing trade and investments, as well as promoting other socioeconomic fields of cooperation. Also, the Ghana-Iran PJCC was held in Accra in 2017. Deliberations centered on cooperation in transport, customs, banking, and environment, to name a few. And also the second session of the Ghana-Malta Political Dialogue, which was held in Ghana in 2018. We also held the third session of the Ghana-Namibia PJCC in Windhoek in Namibia in 2019. 2 MOUs were signed on the development of ports and on higher education. Also, we held the third session of the Ghana-Russia PJCC just recently, and the 2 sides agreed to expedite negotiations on the underlisted areas, that is trade, economic, and industrial cooperation, cooperation in the energy sector, geology and subsoil use, water resources, agric, fisheries, aquaculture, education, scientific and technical cooperation. Also, the 6th session of the Ghana-France political consultations were held in May this year. This meeting afforded the platform for both sides to table pertinent issues in their business and economic relations. We also facilitated a number of agreements and MOUs, the MOU for the establishment of a joint technical experts subcommittee for monitoring pollution from illegal mining activities in the Bia and Tano basins. This is between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. MOU on avoidance of double taxation between the Czech Republic and Ghana. This was done in 2017. Political consultations to deepen bilateral relations between Ghana and Egypt. Signing of an MOU between Ghana and the between the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and their Polish counterparts. This was in June 2017. Signing of an MOU with the Gunjong Foundation for Arts and Culture in July 2017 in South Korea. And this is aimed at providing an opportunity for the youth of both countries to form a bond of friendship that extends beyond borders. Several MOUs between the Ghana Ministry of Health and Italy's LP's Hospital Association, which has resulted in the hospital shipping health items to the Western Regional Capital in November 2018. Also, we signed 5 MOUs with Danish companies during the Queen's visit. Also, a framework agreement was signed for the establishment of the Solar Alliance, which was ratified in Parliament. And this will go a long way in technology transfer and the use, the encouragement of the use of renewable energy, specifically solar energy in Ghana. MOU on political consultations between Ghana and Serbia, and also an MOU was signed between Ghana and Germany for the establishment of the Volkswagen assembly plant in Ghana. This was done during the visit of the Chancellor Angela Merkel, and also several other MOUs. On service delivery, passports. The ministry continues to discharge its mandate as outlined in the Passports and Travel Certificate Act 1967, NLCD 155. In carrying out its functions, the ministry works in collaboration with other relevant MDAs, such as the Birth and Death Registry, Controller and Accountant General's Department, Ghana Immigration Service, and other security services, all of which have representatives stationed in the respective passport application centers across the country. Over the past 2 years, the ministry has embarked on a number of initiatives to facilitate the process of passport acquisition for Ghanaians. Among these initiatives are the online passport application, downloadable portable document format, PDF passport application form. Others are the extension of passport application centers to 8 regional capitals, the establishment of the premium passport application center at the Accra Digital Center, overhauling of passport processing equipment, extension of the validity of passports from 5 years to 10 years, and the provision of premium services, amongst others. Additionally, there are plans to introduce a 48-page passport to satisfy the needs of frequent travelers before the end of the year. I believe most applicants will now attest to the improvement in the passport service delivery. We are not there yet, but we are making impressive progress. The ministry has started discussions aimed at introducing chip-embedded passports to keep up with the pace of technological advancement and enhance the security of our Ghanaian passports. Also, 7 Ghana missions abroad, namely Berlin, London, New York, Washington, Pretoria, Abuja, and Tokyo process and issue biometric passports to our compatriots in the diaspora. To further minimize the bottlenecks associated with acquisition of biometric passports, some missions adopted the mobile enrollment of passport applicants in the course of the year. The ministry has also earmarked the following missions for the extension of the biometric passport service: The Hague, Moscow, Paris, Oslo, and Brussels in Europe, Beijing and Riyadh in Asia and the Middle East respectively, Addis Ababa, Rabat, and Dakar in Africa, Brasilia in South America, as well as Canberra in the Pacific. Domestically, 2 additional facilities have been operationalized to provide online passport application services in Tema and Koforidua. Ladies and gentlemen, the ministry periodically holds media briefing on the passport acquisition to increase public awareness on the appropriate processes and procedures in acquiring passports in Ghana, and initiatives being introduced to ensure timely delivery of passports. We also reach out to the public through the various social media platforms. Currently, with regard to online applications, Accra Park processes 250 applications daily, while the Premium Pack processes 400 applications daily on the average. Tema and Koforidua process about 200 applications per day. The intention is to roll out online passport application platforms in all our regional passport application centers. The ultimate plan is to phase out the manual forms by the end of 2019. Furthermore, the ministry has secured office space from the Regional Coordinating Council in the Upper East, Upper West, and Central regions for the establishment of passport application centers in those regional capitals. And of course, for the new capitals, we will also be engaging the Regional Coordinating Councils for them to offer us space to set up packs. The Passport Office has been selected by the World Bank as one of the key public service agencies to receive support to procure necessary logistics, such as additional printers, cameras, scanners, fingerprint scanners, signature pads, servers, furniture, and computers, among other things, to enhance service delivery. I am very optimistic that by the time we successfully conclude implementation of this World Bank project and other initiatives, Ghanaians will be enjoying stress-free and efficient passport service delivery both at home and abroad. The head office of the Passport Office is soon to be relocated to make way for the construction of the National Cathedral. A new property has been allocated to the ministry to be used as the new passport head office, and it is currently under renovation. On the issue of visa acquisition, Mission's use of the online application system brought a great deal of relief to visa applicants. Applicants can now submit their applications online, mail their passports to designated missions, and have their visas issued and mailed back to them. Ladies and gentlemen, on migration, this has become a very thorny global issue and can only be properly addressed in the spirit of partnership and respect for international law and treaty obligations. Dealing with the scourge of irregular legal migration has become more pronounced in the wake of modern-day slavery, as was recently reported in Libya, where a large number of sub-Saharan Africans were being auctioned as slaves. In collaboration with the IOM, International Organization on Migration, the ministry facilitated the voluntary repatriation of about 843 illegal Ghanaian migrants under the Return, Readmission, and Reintegration Program via a chartered flight from Tripoli, Libya to Ghana. The International Organization for Migration, IOM, is currently implementing a project dubbed, and I quote, "Strengthening the Management and Governance of Migration and the Sustainable Reintegration or Returning Migrants into Ghana," unquote, with an amount of 3 million euros. The project seeks to support the government to improve the reintegration of 650 returning migrants, strengthening national structures to manage the reintegration process in a dignified and sustainable manner. The adoption of the Global Compact at an intergovernmental conference in Marrakesh, Morocco in December 2018 was another milestone towards improvement in the governance of and a holistic approach to international migration. The ministry is working with other MDAs in the context of an interagency committee established by the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations to institute measures to streamline the recruitment of Ghanaians intending to work in the Middle East and the Gulf countries. The ministry continues to sensitize the public to be wary of unscrupulous agents facilitating visa acquisitions and the dangers of traveling without proper documentation. As part of the initiatives to curb the flow of irregular migration, the government of the Federal Republic of Germany, through its Compact with Africa program, has built a state-of-the-art skills center in Accra to provide the Ghanaian youth with vocational and technical skills. The program is under the auspices of the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations. On consular issues, we continue to successfully fulfill our mandate of providing consular assistance and promoting the welfare of Ghanaians both at home and abroad. In 2018, we received 5,200 welfare-related issues from our missions abroad. Out of that number, 4,797 cases were resolved. Consular assistance was also provided to several Ghanaians stranded in foreign countries. This included assistance in the repatriation of 31 stranded Ghanaian soccer fans who traveled to watch the 2018 FIFA World Cup tournament held in the Russian Federation. We also covered the cost of the repatriation of the remains of some deceased Ghanaians abroad. The ministry undertakes this mandate within the constraints of very limited resources, which sometimes pose a challenge and undue pressure on the ministry's finances. On peace and security, certainly meetings to discuss and adopt a concerted and pragmatic approach to international peace and security are of concern to the ministry and government as a whole. As a founding member of the African Union, Ghana continued to forge partnerships with like-minded countries to achieve the vision of a free, peaceful, and prosperous continent. Our ministry actively participated in a number of regional conferences on security. And one example was the one that was held in 2017 in Bamako on the security situation in the Sahel region and the West African region. The objective of the conference was to assess, determine, and adopt suitable interventions to neutralize the activities of criminal organizations within the Sahel-Sahara region in West Africa. The conference concluded with the adoption of what we call the Bamako Declaration. Ghana hosted the United Accord multilateral military exercise in May 2017. More than 60 US soldiers were trained by Ghanaian soldiers at the Jungle Warfare Training School in Achiasi. This was the first time an African partner nation had trained US soldiers. Other security collaborations facilitated by the ministry during the period included, but were not limited to, the facilitation of the mediation role by His Excellency the President and his counterpart, Professor Alpha Condé, the President of Guinea, on the recurrent political crisis in the Republic of Togo. The two presidents worked tirelessly to get the Togolese government, opposition leaders, and other political stakeholders in Togo to implement constitutional reforms. and also the visit of the Canadian Minister for Migration and Refugees to Ghana. This was in 2017, August, to galvanize support for the signing of the 2 global compacts on migration and refugees. This was in 2018. Under the compact, Canada is advocating a minimum standard and approach to addressing issues relating to migrants and refugees. Ladies and gentlemen, our ministry, together with our missions abroad, formed part of the technical team that worked on the delimitation of the maritime boundary between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. The arbitral proceedings, and we all know that that was initiated by us, Ghana, eventually led to the ruling in Ghana's favor by the ITLOS in Hamburg, Germany, on 23rd of September 2017. Since the ruling, both countries have been holding regular consultations to work together towards the full implementation within the context of the strategic partnership agreement that was signed between our 2 countries. The decision of the Special Chamber was also significant in ensuring that the appropriate delimitation of our maritime boundary with Cote d'Ivoire was clearly defined. Our ministry will continue to work with all stakeholders to maintain the excellent relations that we enjoy with Cote d'Ivoire, our neighbor. Also, in collaboration with other MDAs, the ministry has been holding meetings with the Togolese authorities in respect of the maritime boundaries between our 2 countries to ensure that Ghana's investments and resources, particularly in the oil and gas sector, are secured and protected. Ghana will continue to pursue and promote peace and security within the ECOWAS sub-region and the African continent as a whole, and our efforts are duly recognized. For instance, the Prime Minister of Guinea-Bissau, His Excellency Aristide Gomez, expressed his country's appreciation to the President of Ghana for the significant role played by Ghana and ECOWAS in solving the socio-political crisis in his country, which resulted in his appointment as Prime Minister. On diaspora engagement, our ministry diaspora engagement policy is grounded in the realization that there's a rich experience, there's expertise and skills possessed by our Ghanaian nationals resident abroad, and this we could leverage for our socio-economic development. Therefore, in collaboration with the Diaspora Affairs Office of the Presidency and the National Service Secretariat, we have facilitated the process for the 2nd and 3rd generation Ghanaian diaspora to undertake their national service in Ghana. This is expected to assist in integrating them into the Ghanaian society and to offer opportunities to transfer their skills and share their experiences with the youth. This year, 2019, marks 400 years of the arrival of the first slave ship from Africa on the shores of the United States of America. Our president in December 2018 launched the Year of Return to commemorate the occasion and to encourage African Americans and people of African descent to return to their homeland and contribute to the development of the continent. The Year of Return thus serves as an avenue to give fresh impetus to the quest to unite Africans on the continent with their brothers and sisters in the diaspora. Our missions are expeditiously processing visa applications for travelers to facilitate their participation in the over 40 programs and activities lined up in celebration of Year of Return. Additionally, fees for visas on arrival has been reduced from $150 to $75 to encourage more visitors into the country. Government is also working towards visa waiver agreements with some countries, particularly in the Caribbean, where the African diaspora is quite significant. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, to a large extent, the ministry has made remarkable strides in the quest on the pursuit of its mandate, which I believe has resulted in the successful promotion of our national interests abroad. We will continue to work hard to give true meaning to the legitimate aspirations and prosperity of all Ghanaians in driving the vision of the President's Ghana Beyond Aid agenda. We will continue to pursue the people-centered foreign policy with a view to contributing to job creation and prosperity to enable the ordinary Ghanaian feel the full impact and significance of Ghana's engagement with the rest of the world. At this juncture, I wish to commend the media for the great sense of professionalism exhibited in your engagements with the ministry throughout the years. I acknowledge with much appreciation your prompt responses to the ministry's numerous invitations, which are sometimes at very short notice. Clearly, the media also gives meaning to our mandate and is a powerful instrument that keeps us on our toes. We at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration are glad to have you as partners in the implementation of Ghana's foreign policy objectives. Finally, I'd like to thank my colleague, Minister for Information, Honorable Kojo Nkrumah, and his very able Deputy, Nana Dukuya, and his able team for the opportunity and facilitation of this media event today. Thank you very much for your attention.